I'm Lindsay. I'm Carol's daughter-in-law. Our daughter Jocelyn lost her grandma Carol when she was a little over a year and a half. This fear of Jocelyn not knowing and not remembering her grandma Carol was very real to me during the last 6 months of Carol's life. My way of always remembering Carol and celebrating her memory is to keep her alive through my children and through the life Daniel and I create. I started writing a letter to Jocelyn to tell her the story of her grandma Carol around her first birthday. I wanted to make sure that Jocelyn knew who her grandma was and what she meant to me and to her father. I wanted Jocelyn to have her own story about her grandma Carol. Dear Jocelyn, I want to tell you about your grandma Carol. You were very young when she died, but I'm hoping that the year and a half of memories come back to you when you read this. I will always remind you of who she was to you and who she was to us. From the day you were born, Grandma Carol called you Peaches and Cream. She would marvel at your delicate and long fingers and toes with high hopes of you becoming a dancer or a pianist. She was always gentle, quiet, and calm with you, always speaking softly, always singing you a lullaby. It would take just one day of missing you before Grandma Carol would rush over for a Jocelyn fix. You were born during a time that was not easy for your Grandma Carol, but even just 5 minutes with you would make her worries and her pain disappear. Your bond with Grandma Carol quickly grew. You would literally squeal when she picked you up from music class. She knew every Monday when there was a knock on the door, it was Carol and it was time for class. Grandma Carol loved playing you her favorite classical pieces during the car ride and listening to you hum along or try to make Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star fit in with Schubert or Mozart. If you weren't completely passed out from class and your picnic lunch by the time you got home, then you were beaming from your special time with Grandma Carol. You saved your first word for Carol. When she waved goodbye to you one day, you suddenly looked up and said, "Bye-bye." It is possible that her scream was heard around the world. I don't know if you will ever understand what a gift you gave to her. You saved such a milestone just for her. I can picture your Grandma Carol driving home, smiling through her tears. Sorry. It was hard enough for me to say goodbye to your Grandma Carol, but the loss that I felt knowing what you would miss out on by not having her just hurt. The years of novella-like cards, much like the one framed in your room, the camp song for every occasion, the unconditional support, the family meals, every detail to perfection, your Grandma Carol sitting at the head of the table, crying through the family toast. She would have stocked your dorm room or first apartment with your favorite foods before you walked in the door, even if it meant shopping at 4 different markets to find your favorite items. She would have celebrated each of your achievements, big and small, with a poster board of pictures, a long letter, a meaningful gift, or a big family dinner. I know she would have been your confidant during the years ahead when talking to me or Daddy is the last thing you want to do. She would have given you advice in a way no one else could have. First, listening intently, and then asking questions in the most thoughtful way, never judging you, always open and honest, until you came to a resolution together. Your Grandma Carol will always be a part of us. She lives on through Daddy because she made him the husband and father that we are so lucky to have. It was because of Grandma Carol that Daddy is compassionate, sensitive, loyal, creative, honest, determined, and loving. And I hope she knows that she made him strong. Your Grandma Carol loved you, Jocelyn, with all of her being. You were one of her chickens. The last thing Grandma Carol said to me was, "I love our family." And she did. Love, Mommy.